All right, guys. I think we are with you. It is College SportsCast, and we are here to do our game day pick'ems. All right, guys. Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm. I can.
All right. Welcome in. We are College SportsCast. I'm not sure. I tried to click it and I had to change stuff. So I've got an adapter that doesn't seem to be working. So for my internet. So I apologize. Got John Hammonds with me, and we've got a special guest tonight. We've got Jake Crain from Crain Company with us tonight. What's up, Jake?
Oh man, just got some football going right now. Ready for another weekend of football. I know some people say it's not the biggest weekend of college football, but look, as long as we're playing football, I'm happy.
That's so true. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Mhm.
We are. We want to welcome you to College Sportscast and welcome you to the show. We appreciate you being with us tonight and talking a little football with us. I know you guys are on the Daily Wire. Is that correct?
Yeah, Daily Wire. Easiest way to reach us on YouTube. I mean, it's Crain Company, Crain and Company. Head over there, hit subscribe. We just hit over 100,000 subs, so really excited about that. And yeah, talk a lot of football. If you got live call-ins and a live chat, it's a good time.
That's cool. We appreciate you being with us. Hammonds, you got a question for Jake?
Not. I mean, not off the bat. I just kind of wanted to hear his thoughts on the Texas Alabama game from last week. It was an intense battle Saturday night in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I picked Texas going undefeated, making the playoff. Kind of stuck with my pick of them going into Tuscaloosa and being able to pull out the win. Just because look, it comes down to personnel mixed with the coaching staff. I'm not a trends guy. If trends stayed the same, nobody'd ever get better, nobody'd ever get worse. And you look at what Texas returned up front on the offensive line. You returned 5 of your top 6 pass catchers. You bring in A.D. Mitchell from Georgia. You have some young but very capable backs, a tight end that's effective. And Steve Sarkisian, having a chance to dial it up, one of the best play callers, one of the witchiest of the witches out there when it comes to putting his team in a position and have a quarterback like Quinn Ewers that can make all the throws. Offense has really never been the problem for Texas. It's been defense and what they brought into the portal, what they've been able to develop in that front seven. And you saw it. They were able to get after Jalen Milroe, and Quinn Ewers left the game with a jersey as clean as when he walked in there. So I think it shows you kind of where Texas is right now. They finally have the personnel to do it. And as long as they stay focused and not let prosperity be a problem, this is a team that's really going to keep making some noise.
I agree. So we had a little debate topic our show on Tuesday night, and I said, with Texas' big win, is Texas ready for the SEC?
Well, look, I mean, it's one of those things. You're not going to know until they're able to go through it. The common misconception isn't, can you beat Alabama in a one-off? Can you beat Georgia in a one-off? The hardest part of the SEC is having to go through the grind of that schedule. I mean, Vanderbilt is still Vanderbilt, it looks like, but outside of that, every week's a fist fight, and Clark Lee's building that place up. It's not easy to go to Ole Miss. It's not easy to go to Mississippi State. It's not easy to then turn around and play Arkansas or LSU. So I think the strength of the SEC has always been the grind of it. I mean, it's a battle of attrition. And when you look at the league and kind of the trajectory of where it's going, Tennessee is building. You see what they've been able to accomplish and the direction they're going. I believe Shane Beamer in South Carolina are on the way up. That offensive line's got to improve, but it will over time with how they're developing offensive linemen and the way they've recruited. So, yeah, I think Texas is one of the few programs that can come in the SEC and be able to have the NIL abilities that they have to bring in players that can compete. But again, it's I've never been to prison, but I guess you don't know if you can handle prison until you've been in there for a while. And going to the SEC, you're not going to know until you're in there and you're throwing punches.
So that begs me to ask you about Tennessee. They travel to Florida this weekend, and a big tilt in the SEC. Where do you see that game going?
Well, look, Tennessee hasn't won down there since 2003, but it's a new team. It's a new circumstance. Obviously, it feels like both these programs are going in different directions. Even though, going back and looking at the Utah game, Graham Mertz actually played better than what I thought he was going to be able to play. But Florida's got to be able to have some semblance of balance on offense when it comes to run pass. They really weren't able to run the ball successfully, really didn't try north to south. A lot of it was lateral. And then obviously they got, hurt themselves with penalties and big moments. You look at the special team penalty that extended the drive. Going all the way back to the first drive of the game against Utah, where they get into 3rd and 1 off a jet sweep, get a false start, end up getting in 3rd and 6, have to punt, and Utah hits them with a bomb the first play. So when I look at this game, Joe Milton's got to show it to me. Look, is Florida the best team in the SEC? No, but I think they're going to have to make him throw through tight windows and make the routine throws routine. I do think Tennessee wins, but I think Florida covers. I think this is a tight game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. One of my favorite bets of the weekend is the under. I got it at 59. It's at 58.5 right now. So give me the Vols because, look, I think people kind of always talk about Joe Milton and the warp drive offense and, what Josh Heupel wants to do on offense. I think Tennessee's pretty damn good on defense, too, when you look at him. And he's really upgraded that program up front. We always say on Crain Company, you want to go from the duplex to the suburbs the quickest, get better up front. I don't think enough people talk about that.
So I'm going to go to another question. There's not a big slate this weekend. It's kind of dull in a way, except for a couple games. What's one underrated game that you're looking at on the schedule that says, hey, this might be a really good football game?
Well, yeah, being the football junkie I am, as long as there's games being played, I'm going to be excited about it. But look, I always like when opposite styles meet each other. You look at Minnesota going to North Carolina, the way Minnesota handles their business, kind of more methodical, want to run the ball, play action, run the clock. North Carolina, even though Phil Longo's gone up to Wisconsin, they want to throw it around a little bit. They want to get Drake May on the move. They want to let him put pressure on defenses. North Carolina's defense looked very improved week 1 against South Carolina and then took a step back in week 2 against App State. So does that tell you more about South Carolina? Does that tell you more about North Carolina's defense? But I do know this about Minnesota. They're going to make you earn it. They're going to find out. They're going to try and move you around and see how you respond to it. And if North Carolina is able to just sustain, I think North Carolina wins that one in Chapel Hill. I think the line's at 7.5. I wouldn't touch it, with a 20-foot pole. But at the end of the day, I just like when different styles meet each other. We're seeing it tonight right now as we're talking in Memphis and Navy, and that game's 14 up at halftime. So I always find that interesting. You look around that there's some sneaky matchups. You got a bitter rivalry in New Mexico State. My buddy's the OC out there at New Mexico, hoping they can put up some points. But you look around, there's some sneaky matchups, man. South Alabama going out to Oklahoma State, 7.5-point underdog. My alma mater out there, seeing if they can do something after kind of a letdown start against Tulane. They didn't play as well as I thought they would. I know Kane knows that, but there's some good matchups up there. You just got to kind of dig in and find them a little bit.
They are, and then you got LSU, Mississippi State. That's another game that's a big one on the docket. You got Arkansas and BYU. But my next question is, how did you get into all this? I know your dad played football for Auburn growing up. And, I mean, was it something you always wanted to do, or is it just –
No, man, this all happened by accident. I coached for 9 years, six and a half at the Division I level. And I was actually interviewing for the defensive coordinator job where I was coaching up in Montana when COVID hit, and they sent us all back and sent all the players back home because, this is when nobody really knew what was going on with COVID in 2020. And I was trying to kind of waste time before we went back up there. Again, our head coach was like, I don't know exactly when everybody's coming back up. So I went and bought a $50 mic and just kind of started talking some ball into it. Really started out regionally with Auburn. Got hit up by some investors a couple weeks in. I mean, it took all the technological knowledge that I had to get the audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It wasn't on video. And some investors hit me up, were like, hey, we're listening to this. It's performing really well. Would this be something you'd be willing to move to Atlanta and think about doing for a living? And I was like, no, like I'm young. I'm moving up the coaching ranks, liking my trajectory. And, they made an offer that I really couldn't refuse, and went up there, got put on video by a production company run by a guy named David Cohn, who's now a co-host of the show, and put it on video. And Hugh Freeze at Liberty was the first interview I did up there on video. I was doing a lot on audio. And within 4 months, Colin Cowherd reached out. We signed a 6-month deal with the Volume to be the college football show over there. And then when we were renegotiating that, Ben Shapiro DM'd me and wanted us to be the sports show for the Daily Wire. So I haven't even really been doing this for 3 years. It's been kind of a crazy experience. I'm sweating to wake up from a coma and let them tell me which 18-wheeler hit me on what road. So it was kind of just organic, man. Like the best things are.
And I know you started. I remember you as JBoy. Everybody knew you as JBoy, and that's really where you got it really started, and then it kind of just evolved to where you are now.
Yeah, and, people still call me that. It's still in my Twitter profile, and started out as the JBoy show and morphed into Crain Company, and just has taken off, man. It's crazy.
So what's it like working with your brother and Cone? I say it's a treat sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I think kind of what separates us is we work for the Daily Wire, but I mean, we don't really get political outside of men not being in women's sports. But I don't even think that's political. I think that's, why you look both ways before you cross the street. It's just common sense. Yeah. But no, I mean, working with my brother's great. He played receiver at Western Colorado. Cone played quarterback at Michigan. It's it's kind of like an old school sports show. I mean, we get down to the nitty gritty, but we have fun. I always say it's like if you got to sneak into the field house of your favorite football team or sports team, and you got to hang around with the coaches while they drank beer and just talked about the what's going on. And because again, we're fortunate enough to have inside knowledge of the game. I mean, if you listen to the show for 5 minutes, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's great, man. I mean, we get along, we argue sometimes, but it's really good chemistry, and I really enjoy going to work.
What's been your biggest surprise, and which has been your biggest letdown as far as college football teams this year? Because, Texas is, they're on the up and up. A lot of people wasn't real sure what they was going to do, and then they go into Alabama and they win. And, give me your takes on those.
Well, I mean, surprise has got to be Colorado, right? Not just that they're winning, but the way they've won. You've got two different experiments going on. You've got one where we've seen teams and new coaches bring in a lot of players from the portal. We've never seen the amount that Deion Sanders, brought in. Football's the ultimate team sport, trying to get guys, that many new guys from different places to come in and be able to work together and really win by letting the other team make mistakes. I mean, Colorado's played pretty clean. They're not the best team up front, but you look at Nebraska. I mean, they fell apart, post Malone style. You go back to week 1, they let TCU make the mistakes and let their identity kind of take over. And then on the other hand, you got Travis Hunter, the Shohei Ohtani of college football out here playing 125, 130 snaps a game. We've never seen that before. So Colorado, without a doubt, who's going to be 3-0 after this weekend against Colorado State is got to be the biggest surprise. I'd say the biggest letdown so far probably be the Southeastern Conference. to be honest with you, in general. Not that, the SEC is bad, but we're so used to seeing the SEC dominate. And then you look at North Carolina beat South Carolina. You look at what FSU did to LSU. I mean, even going all the way to Wake Forest, beating Vanderbilt. It seems that, the mix of the new quarterbacks at the top for the SEC and really in general, and that blended with the transfer portal that's kind of rose, a rising tide lifts all ships. I think we've seen some middle of the ground Power 5 teams really kind of move up and be able to replace some guys with experienced guys and have success. So yeah, I would say the SEC and then Wisconsin, kind of the way they played at Washington State. They're kind of one of my sleeper teams this year. Still a long way to go. Plenty of opportunities ahead of them, including Ohio State at home. I'm big on Luke Fickell. I thought him bringing in Phil Longo, the OC from North Carolina, who's got a great resume. I thought that was a really good decision too. So I'd say the SEC kind of being slow out of the gate, and then Wisconsin so far would probably be the letdowns that have kind of, stood out the most. I expected Alabama to struggle a little bit just because they had so many unknowns. You're changing your philosophy. You change both coordinators. You got a quarterback that's inexperienced. And to me right now, it looks like you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with what you want Jalen Milroe to do with the 3-step, 5-step, go through everything and instead of just letting that dog eat.
Speaking of Colorado, do you see Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders as being Heisman finalists and being those guys that can work their way into the Heisman top?
Well, right now, I think Shedeur definitely. Now, when it comes down to it, Colorado, you got to win enough games to be able to win the Heisman. Now, RG3, they won 9 games and he was able to win it. Could Shedeur do that? It's very possible. But look, we're going to find out a lot about Colorado. They're going to have some Heisman opportunities. To have Heisman moments, you need Heisman opportunities. And when you face teams like Oregon and USC and who they got coming down the pipe down the stretch, they're going to have a chance. The question is, can they hold up front? Can they protect him long enough? Because Shedeur is without a doubt an NFL quarterback. The way he handles himself inside the pocket, outside of the pocket, going through his reads, not afraid to throw the check down, not afraid to throw the ball away, and it's got enough wiggle to be effective running the ball. I've been very impressed with the way that he handles the game. I hate the term game manager. Every quarterback is a game manager. If you're not a game manager at quarterback, you can't play quarterback. I feel like that's one of the worst terms in sports. It's like calling a pitcher a game manager. Duh, that's his job.
Yeah.
So, I do think Shedeur has a really good chance. I want to see how long Travis can play this amount of snaps. I know training and elevation helps you, but it's with the physicality, with the beating that you take even playing one side of the ball for a whole season. Trying to stay healthy on one side of the ball is hard enough, let alone both sides. So I think Shedeur for sure.
Well, we'll go with one more question and we'll let you go because we was going to do just a 20-minute thing with you and let you go. But the SEC, as we look at the SEC, what makes it so down this year in your regard? Is it the quality? Is it just teams not playing really well? Or
well, I think it's still early in the season. I would not be shocked if you see the SEC as this goes on. And, we interviewed Cole Kubelik today for our game day special that we're releasing on Saturday. And, he was talking about a point that one of his co-hosts, Greg McElroy, made, and it's everybody. It's across the board. You don't hit as much in preseason as you used to. So I think you're going to see some teams make some jumps. But that's across the board. It's not an excuse. I think what the reason you're seeing is you look at the amount of quarterbacks that you had to replace in the SEC compared to other places, including the Pac-12 that seems like they returned to every quarterback possible. And then Oregon State added DJU, who's been a great fit over there so far. We'll see once Oregon State gets into a little bit more competition. But I think you blend the changeover at quarterback. I mean, look at Carson Beck. Hadn't got a ton of reps at Georgia. Jalen Milroe hadn't got a ton of reps at Alabama. Tennessee replacing Hendon Hooker with a guy who's, the jury's still out on. Go up and down the board. I mean, Auburn bringing in Peyton Thorne, who does have some experience but hadn't played in the SEC. It does seem that the changeover at quarterbacks had some effect. And look, I think you go back to the transfer portal. The rich are always going to get richer. That's how it works. But you're seeing some middle ground Power 5 teams really be able to bring in guys who have experience and supplement their roster, and some guys who are really good players who may not have gotten a ton of playing time at the place they were come in and have a chance to shine. So I think it's a mix of a couple things, but I would wait. If some of these SEC teams still look bad, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, even as we get into conference play, then I would call it down. I think just because they've had a rough 2-week stretch. It's a long season. You guys know this better than anybody. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint in college football. So we're going to find out soon. But I think that's kind of one of the symptoms of the overall, not decline of the Southeastern Conference, but the slow start out of the gate.
Well, and you got Devin Leary too at Kentucky. That's another one. He hasn't really played.
He's got to play better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's off with his receivers. There's just something, they're not clicking together. But eventually they'll get it going, and Liam Cohen will get that offense together, and they'll figure it out. But
Jake, look, early in the season, I'll just say this before we ride out. Early in the season, a lot of times the offense is behind the defenses. You'll see offenses, especially with new quarterbacks. That's why continuity is such a big deal, right? I mean, you look at Quinn Ewers, who's thrown to Xavier Worthy and Jatavian Sanders and all these guys. They've done 7-on-7 for 2 years now. You get a new quarterback in there, especially one that comes in during the summer. Game reps is impossible to simulate. Going through one fall camp, it's really hard to build that chemistry. I talk about this, with Peyton Thorne at Auburn. What was my biggest concern for Peyton Thorne at Auburn, outside of seeing if he can run the ball well enough to be effective in the RPO, was how good is that chemistry, that in-game chemistry, when you've got to be able to communicate when you can't talk and put that ball on the back shoulder, or know when somebody's breaking in on a choice route or an option route. That stuff just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that across the board too.
Yeah, one more thing before you go. There was a little clip that I watched. I guess it might have been this week, where you had Tim Brando on, and he said, "Who's the Texas A&M of being Texas A&M?" And he said, "It's Texas A&M again this year." And I kind of laughed, and I thought, Tim Brando he don't cut no corners. He just goes after it. And
Timmy B doesn't shy away for sure. And I'll say this about A&M. Look, when we watched A&M lose games, here recently, in the past, they've looked inept pretty much in every phase, right? I think that game said as much about Miami as it did about A&M. I thought Miami's physicality, especially on defense, I mean, they got some NFL cats running around there. But, I thought Connor Wegman still looked pretty good. He had the one pick where the receiver fell down. I was just shocked that Miami had so much success through the air, because Miami, make no mistake, through Mario Cristobal, their head coach, they want to be a run-to-pass team. They want to be a team that puts on the ground, beats you in play action, throws quick game, and takes a shot over the top. They kind of went bombs over Baghdad against A&M, and Restrepo and that group absolutely went nuts. I think it kind of shell-shocked Texas A&M. And look, A&M caught a couple breaks on special teams too. Blocked a punt early in the game. Miami dropped a punt that A&M was able to score on. So you take those gifts away, it could have been even worse. But with the way the SEC looks somewhat wide open this year, I wouldn't panic yet. If I was an A&M fan, that defense has just got to hold up more.
But Jake, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being on the show. I'm a huge fan of yours. Keep doing what you're doing with Crain Company, and we'll catch you on the flip side, man.
Definitely, man. Well, anytime y'all need me, just holler. I got a lot of respect for what y'all are doing. Enjoy chopping it up with you guys and talking on social media. And yeah, you can catch us. We're live each weekday, 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. There's only 2 time zones I really know. Outside of that, just look at your phone or whatever.
Unless you live in the Pacific Northwest.
You live out there. I mean, the live's kind of hard to catch because it's so early, but it stays on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify basically forever. We have a game day show on Saturday, and then a Sunday recap in the morning. So we're putting out content every day, taking live calls, got a live chat where we answer questions. So yeah, hop in there. Let's have fun.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks, brother.
See you, man. See you. That wraps up the show with Jake Crain. I'm not sure where Brad is. I think Brad got some technical issues with the internet, but John Hammond stepped in and he did a heck of an interview. Hey, I think I might like this idea. Just clear it out and let me take over. Okay?
Can you hear me now? Well, so I didn't want to be in and out. It was messing all up, so I just stayed out and let you do the interview.
I'm picking at you, man. Brad's having some technical difficulties, folks. It's part of what we've had them. The last couple of weeks, and we're struggling right now, but we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. So I tried a new adapter tonight, and
just wouldn't want to work.
it just didn't work. So I guess I wasted my money on that.
We're good. Hey,
Absolutely. It's what it seems like.
What's that old saying?
I didn't want to be in and out, so I just let you kind of do the.
Nah, you're good, man. I took care of things.
All right, so that was Jake Crain, and we appreciate Jake being on with us tonight. I apologize for not being in, but I just felt like the interview would run smoother. So I was kind of sitting in the background. I was listening the whole time, but anyway, so now we are set, and we are going to do.
Oh my goodness.
We are going to do our game day pick'ems.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we're back. And as soon as I get these things to pop up,
I got the list here with me. I just can't figure out.
So
I'm trying to find the list of the games that we're doing.
I'm trying to get that. Is the Travis Hunter's thing still on the screen?
Let's see here. And he's left us again. So we're having technical difficulties. You know, the big games this week. Let's go here. We've got Louisville plays Indiana on Saturday. We got LSU, Mississippi State on Saturday. We have, I'm going to go through this list. South Carolina, Georgia plays the 3:30 game. Tennessee, Florida plays the 7 o'clock game. And we got a few more, but there's just not a lot of games this week on the docket that really just jump out at you. I mean, you have, Arkansas and BYU, and you got the backyard brawl, West Virginia and Pittsburgh. You got Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, the rivalry from back in the old days. So there's not really a lot of games to really look at to say, woo, that just pumps out at you. But next week, hold your pants, because next week there's some big time games next week, ladies and gentlemen. But we gotta get through this week before we get to next week.
Yep, if we can. All right, can you hear me?
Can we hear you? Yeah, I hear you.
The first game we're going to do tonight, guys, is Penn State at Illinois. Penn State is a 15-point favorite in this game, according to DraftKings. I do have our numbers scrolling at the bottom finally. Last week, I will say I was 8-4. John was 5-7. The bottom of the screen, 2 weeks, I'm 13-10. John is 11-12, and Taylor, who was with us the first week, is 5-6. So that's how the picks are so far. And John, we'll start with you on this game, Penn State versus Illinois.
This will be the first road game for Penn State, but Illinois don't have the defense, and I don't think the home environment to rattle Penn State. And I think Penn State's defense is going to force Illinois to try and pass the ball, and I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. The last time these two teams played, I think, was 2021. Illinois, they beat Penn State, and I think it was a big was it a 9 overtime game in College Station? Not College Station, Happy Valley. I think it was a 9 overtime game where I think Illinois lost their quarterback. So this game's on the road at Illinois. It's a big test for, Penn State. But I think Penn State covers this game. Illinois has not impressed me the last 2 weeks against Toledo or Kansas. They're just not a really good football team. And I think Penn State covers this game.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you on that. Penn State has got a really good football team. Drew Alar has been, around the top 10, so far through 2 weeks as far as passing yards and the way he has looked. And they have got talent. I kind of picked them to be up at the top of the Big Ten. And for that reason alone, I'm going to go ahead. I think they will handle this. Now, 15 points is a pretty big spread, but I think they can handle 15-point spread at Illinois. So I'm going to go with you on this one and pick Illinois. The next one we're going to do is LSU. LSU is going on the road at Mississippi State, and LSU is a 9.5-point favorite at Mississippi State. It's a tough place to play, Hammonds. What do you think about this game?
It's a very tough place to play. Mississippi State, for me, they have a very suspect secondary. They got gashed last week by the Arizona quarterback on the ground. I think they gave up 44 yards and a score on 8 carries. And LSU brings into this game Jaden Daniels. They have a dynamic pass catchers to go along with it. They got Neighbors. I think they got the guy Brooks on the other side. I don't think the Tigers are going to have a big issue passing the ball, and it'll be a double-digit win for LSU. I just don't see Mississippi State hanging in this football game at all. Even at Starkville, even in a tough environment, I think LSU is just the better team in this game. I think the defensive worries that I'm having for Mississippi State, that's really where I'm going with this, because if Arizona eats you up, what's LSU going to do with the offense that they got? You know what I'm saying? So give me the 9.
Well, I mean, Daylor, or whatever his name is at Arizona, he's a pretty good quarterback.
He is.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point on it. But
I don't think LSU covers, though.
So you're picking Mississippi State to?
I'm picking Mississippi State to cover.
Yeah, to cover the spread.
Cover the spread, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's kind of the way I was thinking. I think this game will be closer than most people think, especially the first half for sure. I think it will be. I tell you what, if you're going to pick Mississippi State, I'll go the other way. I think there's a chance LSU covers this by the end of the game, but it's going to be a closer game for most of the game than what most people think. It is a tough place to play. That crowd and bells and everything else they do there is pretty tough. So, I'll go LSU covers. All right. And our next game is a Big 12 SEC game. So our next game is Kansas State is going to Missouri, and Kansas State is a 3.5-point favorite on DraftKings in this game at Missouri. So how do you feel about this game?
This is a game that I really don't know which way to go, to be honest. I want to take Missouri. I want to take Kansas State. I think Kansas State has the better team. Missouri does not throw the ball very well. Kansas State does. I think they've scored over 40 points the last 2 games. If Missouri cannot throw the ball, they're not winning this football game. They got to make plays through the air. And I think Kansas State will do just enough to win this game on the road, because Missouri, if you look at them last week, they barely scraped by and beat Middle Tennessee State. And you can't do the things they did last week against a team like Kansas State, because Kansas State will make you pay for it. So give me Kansas State, and I think they cover this game. I think they go over the 3.5. I think this is a really tight game first half, and I think K-State pulls away late in the fourth quarter.
Well, that's kind of where I am with this game. Kansas State, I know it's at Missouri, but 3.5 points is not much to cover, although I did lose a game last week because they won by 2, and it was a 3.5 point spread. Yeah. I did lose. One of the 4 games I lost last week was that. So
it's okay to lose. It's okay to lose a game.
Yeah. And well, I got the team right that won the game. I just didn't get the spread. So, but I'm going to do K-State and take the 3.5 points. I just feel like they're the much better team.
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow suit K-State and take the -3. All right. And then our next game is a Big Ten versus ACC. We've got Minnesota going to North Carolina. And in this one, North Carolina is at home, and they are 7.5 point favorite.
Man, this is a very interesting matchup, and I'll tell you why, because you have 2 different teams playing here. You got North Carolina that plays offense, and you got Minnesota that plays defense. And which one's going to break first? I think Minnesota covers, but I think North Carolina wins this game. Drake May is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's on the Heisman watch. I just think there's too much offense. But I think Minnesota will keep this game close. I don't think they're going to run away with it with points, because Minnesota's defense is really, really good. North Carolina is just going to – they're going to need to grind this game out and win by what the margin is. What is it, 7.5? I think they'll win this game and grind it out.
It's 7.5. Yeah.
But I do think Minnesota
So
covers.
you've got North Carolina covering?
I got Minnesota covering, but North Carolina wins.
Okay. So you got North Carolina winning and Minnesota covering the 7.5 spread.
7.5, yeah.
Keeping it within 7.5.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a grinded out game.
All right. Well, at home, you never know with North Carolina. They can have a game like last week against App State, and it's, one score and then the other score, and then they score, then one score. It could be a game like that, and it could be close all day, or they could play and beat them 42-17. You just don't know with North Carolina. Mm-hmm. This week, I'm going to take the 7.5 points at home. I'm not sold yet on what this Minnesota team is going to be. So I'm going to take North Carolina and take the 7.5 points. And I can't really tell, guys, if my screen is changing or not.
Yeah, it's changed.
So it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's South Carolina, Georgia.
Okay. I can't really tell if my screen is changing or not. So the next game we're going to talk about is South Carolina at Georgia. This is one of the bigger games this week in the SEC, but Georgia is favored 27.5 points at home. against this South Carolina team. Spencer Rattler's been really good.
I'm going to say this, though. They allowed 9
games.
sacks. They allowed 9 sacks against North Carolina, right?
Against North Carolina.
And the North Carolina's defense
They did.
is nothing compared to Georgia's. And, Georgia's offense, they're still a work in progress with Carson Beck and that and the wide receivers. But I just don't think they're going to be tested against South Carolina. I don't. I think Georgia's going to move the ball up and down the field against the defense that was pushed around by North Carolina's offensive line. This is a tough opener for South Carolina on the road. And I'm just going to do it. And I know people's going to say, oh, yeah, but give me the 27.5. Take the 27.5. I just don't. Don't get me wrong. I like Spencer Rattler. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's going into a tough environment to play, and Georgia is a different animal compared to North Carolina.
Well, I agree. So you think Georgia's going to cover 27.5?
I do. I really do. There's a lot of smack talking going on between these two teams already with the, saying that apparently one of the South Carolina players said something, vice versa. There's just a lot of, and I think Georgia, which that was taken plumb out of context by the South Carolina guy. He never mentioned Georgia, but Georgia will take that and they will run with it and they will use it as motivation. That's just how Kirby Smart does. And Kirby Smart is a very smart coach.
I'm tempted. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm tempted to say South Carolina will hold this within 4 scores. I'm tempted to say that in this game. I do think Georgia wins this game. They probably win it pretty handily. Georgia has been kind of slow the last 2 games to start against some not so great teams. And Spencer Rattler's been playing great. Now, you're right. He ran for his life, but still played good against North Carolina.
Offensive line, I'll just say the offensive line's got to be better, though, against teams like Georgia.
Yeah, but
it's got to be a lot better.
Together, they got like 3 new guys. The whole line.
They're banged. They're really banged up right now. They got.
So I don't know. So I'm going to take Georgia in the points too, even though I think that there is a chance that South Carolina can keep it within 4 scores. I just feel like that's the smart move. I don't know.
It is.
But we'll see. So the next game we're going to talk about is Washington's coming to town. And they are playing Michigan State at Michigan State, but Washington is a 16-point favorite at Michigan State.
I don't even think this game's close. There's so much going on at Michigan State right now with off the field issues.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. There is.
Penix Jr. is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they have a tandem that will have problems stopping Michigan State or Washington. They've shown up on the defensive end as well. I think the biggest difference in this one is the inexperience with Michigan State. I just don't think Michigan State can win this game. There's so much going on with the coach, a lot of things going on behind the scenes, in the locker room. I just don't see this game being anywhere within 16, 17 points. Washington covers and wins this game going away. So, and I lost Brad again. He'll be back in a minute. While we're on that, let's see here. Tennessee plays. You want to do the Tennessee game next?
Did you finish this one?
Yeah, I said Washington wins this game going away, 16 cover.
Yeah, I'm picking Washington to cover in this game as well. I think Michigan State is an absolute mess right now, and Washington has a really, really good team. Really good team.
Yeah, there's too much going on at Michigan State right now.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So my next game, yeah, you're right. My next game is Tennessee at Florida. It's in the swamp, and Tennessee is a 6.5 point favorite.
Here's a big one for you. The Volunteers have won 2 straight games, but they really haven't faced anybody yet. And they have to run the ball to win this game, I think. You know, their defense has done a good job so far. You know, they limited Utah even in the loss. They've done a really good job. That they're good at defending the run. I want Joe Milton to show me something because I just haven't seen it in the last couple of games. You know, the first game, you know, everybody says, well, he done all this, but Virginia is just not a real good football team. I'm sorry. They're just not real good. And
no, they're not.
Have to show me against better competition. You know, Tennessee hasn't won.
I'm not so sure that Florida's a real good football team. Not yet.
That's what I was getting ready to get at. And if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee hasn't won there since what, 2003, 2002, something like that. It's been a long time. So
it's been a long time. Yeah.
I think Tennessee wins this, but Florida covers the spread. It's a rivalry game, man. And when you have a rivalry game of this magnitude, you can throw records out the window.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say Tennessee would lose this game. I said they'll win it, but I think Florida's covering the spread.
Okay. Well, so for me, I'm going to take Tennessee to cover. I mean, I just feel like Tennessee is a far better team. I know Florida's probably going to try to run the ball down their throats. That would be what I would do if I was them. They got 2 good running backs.
Yeah.
And
you're kind of echoing. It's going in and out.
If I was them, I would just line it up and try to run the ball down their throats.
Yeah.
And possibly run 40 times, to be honest with you.
That's what I would most likely
do. But with that said, I think Tennessee's got the better team. It's 6.5, 1 touchdown. I think they can cover that. So I'm going to go Tennessee to cover in this game. Our next one that we're going to talk about
Pittsburgh
is Pittsburgh at Virginia.
You know,
and West Virginia. Okay, West Virginia is a 3-point favorite.
You know, West Virginia used to be such a force at home. You know, it was It's tough to go against them. You know, their crowds usually got wild. But, last year, I think they gave up 48 points to Kansas State and 55 to Kansas at home.
So what do you think about the Pittsburgh-West Virginia game?
West Virginia might be without Devin Carter, and that hurts them, I think. I don't know. This one's tough to gouge. It's the backyard brawl. They both hate each other.
Pittsburgh, West Virginia, backyard brawl. It's -3.
Yeah, they can't stand each other. I think I'm going to go West Virginia to cover to win this game. I'm not sold on Pitt. I'm not sold on either one of them, but I think West Virginia being the home team, I think I got to give them the edge there. And I lost him again. We'll give him a minute to come back. Usually don't take him very long. Yeah, it's been bad all night. Bo. He's not had really good audio tonight. Let's see here. Hopefully he'll come back. We can get this finished here. Mm-hmm. I told him your audio's been horrible all night. It's been.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I really don't. I don't like. The other night I done this and it ran just fine, and then tonight I sat down and it's running like crap. So you get it. I mean, it's the same setup. I don't know. I don't get it.
So
it is what it is. So I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game.
You want to do one more game to get this over with?
Well, I've got just a few more is all we got.
Okay.
I got BYU at Arkansas. Arkansas is an 8.5 point favorite.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take Arkansas on this one. I think they cover the spread. KJ Jefferson's probably one of my players to watch for this year, but they do lose Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders. He's a huge blow. I would go with the underdogs, but it's at Arkansas. They both had an easy schedule so far, and I think this will be a big test for both teams. But I think Arkansas will be they're more in tune with this game, I think, because of the quarterback play. Give me KJ Jefferson and Arkansas. I think they cover.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arkansas in this game too. I'm not sold yet on. Yeah, I'm going to take them in the 8.5 points for Arkansas in this game. What happened with Rocket Sanders?
He's got
some
out? Undisclosed injury. I think it's something to do with his might be a leg. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I just know that they made a comment last week about it, and it kind of boiled up. So I don't know. Didn't really give a lot of detail. The stuff I listened to didn't give a lot of details.
Next one is Syracuse at Purdue. Syracuse is a 2.5 point favorite at Purdue.
Mm-hmm. This game will go to the wire, I think. Purdue They gave up 371 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in week 1 to Fresno State. Syracuse will have a hard time keeping Purdue's ground game in check too. I think this is going to be a battle for 60 minutes. Give me I think you're going to give me the underdog in the points. I think I'm going to take Syracuse in this one. Even though it's at Purdue, I just think Syracuse is possibly the better team.
And I'll take the home team. If you're going to take that, I'll do the opposite. I'll take the home team and take Purdue.
Good.
Yeah.
I do think this game will go to the wire, though.
Trying to be a little bit different this week, and my picks will probably be absolutely terrible. But the last one we're going to do tonight and picks is TCU at Houston. And TCU is a 7.5 point favorite.
Oh, I don't even like that. Both of these teams to me are very inconsistent, to be honest. Both of them haven't started out well. This should be a really interesting game, to be honest. I like TCU, but just because Houston's secondary is vulnerable, I expect a high-scoring game. But I think the talent level will prevail in this one with TCU on the road. So give me TCU in 7.5. They cover.
Yeah, Houston hasn't impressed me so far, to be honest with you.
No, you hang around with, I think, was it Rice last week? I think maybe
Rice. Yeah.
Yeah, you let Rice hang around. It's just.
I know TCU got beat by Colorado in first game, whatever, but I'm taking TCU at 7.5 points in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the smart move to make, probably. So, I'm going to take TCU and the 7.5 points and see what happens. All right. So the past couple of weeks we've been doing an upset pick of the week. I'm here to tell you we haven't done too hot. We have missed both of them so far on the upset pick of the week. But what?
I don't know.
What do you think? What do you think you're going to go with for the upset pick of the week? I actually think this week's kind of tough.
It is. Give me I look for Duke to have a slow start. They've come out of the gate pretty quick. I wouldn't be shocked if they overlooked Northwestern in this game at home. And give me Northwestern. It's just a game that kind of just bulks out at you like Duke's done really well the last couple of weeks, but they're always due for that one bad game. You know what I mean? And I think this could be it with Northwestern.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to take a home team that is a 3.5 point underdog to Fresno State. I'm going to take Arizona State to win at home as an underdog. That's going to be my upset pick of the week. Fresno State has got a good team, and this Arizona team is starting Jaden Rashada. He's played 1-1, lost one. They lost last week to Oklahoma State, but was in the entire game. So give me Arizona State as my upset pick of the week. And then our locks of the week, John, you're 0-2, and I'm John, you're 0-2, and I'm 1-1 so far in our locks
my
of the
lock
week.
This week.
I missed last week.
My lock this week is Colorado. Colorado State coach opened his mouth and he's
Yeah.
fixing to have it.
Yeah.
He's getting to have meatloaf and mashed potatoes served to him. And Dion's
That's
going to serve it
probably
on.
so true.
He's going to have it served
Well, the
on a
spread's
platter this weekend.
24.
So
They got to beat them by
in-
24.
Put it in stone. I think that's my lock of the week, Colorado. Prime time.
After. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take a road team here for my lock of the week. I'm taking Florida State as a 26-point favorite at Boston College as my lock of the week. I just feel like Florida State is that good, and I really don't feel like Boston College is all that great of a team. So I'm going to take Florida State at Boston College on the road for 26 points as my lock of the week, and we'll see how that goes.
And for everybody wondering,
all right, so I apologize
for the audio. You know, it's not been the best tonight. It's been in and out. So,
and it's not really my audio; it's the internet connection. It's not
the internet
connecting
connection.
right.
I'm guessing, yeah, it's the internet connection. So,
yeah, but it's causing my audio to go in and out. But
we'll be fine though. We'll get it straightened out.
I'm not sure. We've run it 2 or 3 times here, and it hadn't done it. And now tonight it did. So I don't know.
But John Hammonds did pull a Deion Sanders interview of the century tonight again with Jake Crain. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we want to give a big thanks to Jake Crain for joining us tonight. Yeah. We apologize for the difficulties that we've had here tonight, but Jake, come on, and we appreciate him being on.
You know my head's going to blow up. Oh goodness. Oh. But seriously though,
we appreciate Jake coming. Next show is going to be Sunday for our week 3 weekend wrap up show. The AP poll comes out just an hour or 2 before we do our show, so we always kind of go through the AP poll on Sundays, as well as do a college football scoreboard and run through the whole scoreboard of what happened. And hopefully I'll get all of this worked out and we won't have an issue. It always seems to want to act up. So,
yeah.
But anyways, we appreciate you guys being with us. We will see you guys on Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Time for our weekend wrap-up show. Y'all have a good night.
You too, man. Have a good one.
Bear with me. It may take a minute to actually end this thing. Come on.